Over it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 19 of the Football Uncensored podcast. I'm here with Sir John Sitton, my liege.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what now. Looking at the state of things, anyone to get a knighthood now. I've been looking at the state of things after that fucking interview.
Oh dear, yeah.
Oh, what's a carry-on? Just goes to show you, doesn't it?
What a turn up for the books, yeah.
Well, no, it ain't this. All families are the same. At the end of the day, they're a family. You know what I mean? And it's like my book. You can have an unbelievable family with the greatest, like my granddad, patriarch, and then people come in, they marry in, they're like Trojan horses. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's fractures and splinters, and like you say, just because they're royals don't mean they don't experience the same stuff as other families. But having said that, it was quite an interesting insight into the fact that it isn't normal. It's a bit. I don't know, how can I put it? Well, he was right. I believed him when he said, not that this is what the podcast is about, but that they live in a bubble. Yeah, and it's all a bit like they're scared of the press and
I'm
frozen.
I'm close. I live with a bubble.
We generally do need a little hi hat and a kick drum or something just to do a little.
Yeah.
For your
well, I've only got to say the word. She run a bar for me.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Go on, mate.
No, go on. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I don't want to cast aspersions in case I lose my house.
Right. Loads of games. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'm not just as an initial comment. I'm gonna be gutted when the next season starts and you can't watch either of the games and they're not coming thick and fast. And I love it.
I don't think there's not really too much difference. I think, to be honest with you, there was a thing at the start where they had to get a few out of the way, but one it's been more or less the same. Two, I don't subscribe to the moaning and groaning, and this is what like the big squads are for. And all said and done, you've got the top few. As you come down them, you're probably looking. I'm struggling after Man City, maybe Man United. Arsenal are getting there. Chelsea. After those four, I'm struggling with regards to like for like in terms of quality in the squad, and then that's what separates them from the others. I think.
Yeah.
Being able to rotate and give people a breather, a little rest. It's no different to how it used to be back in the day. I mean, it was for us. It was always Tuesday, Saturday, and then even more so when as I slid down the slippery pole into the lower divisions, it's even worse.
Is it football a lot more intense now though? Look quicker and So
we know that. Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
So does that take a toll more so than it did in your day?
For me, it's an emphatic no, because I think it's balanced out with regards to the army of people they've got. With things like masseurs, they've got an army of masseurs. They've got the rehab. They've got the better physiology and anatomy taken care of. They've got better diet and nutrition. They've definitely got better surfaces, and more often than not, and this is a little insight for a long, long time now. Clubs, if say like you're looking at a player and one player's got 3 assets and the other player's got 2 assets, if the player that's got 2 assets is an unbelievable athlete and got blistering pace, they'll pick the player that's got 2 assets rather than the player that's got 3 assets or 4 assets. It's been like that for a long time now. And at the end of the day, being natural athletes, their bodies can cope as long as they refuel appropriately. You know what I mean? And obviously, that's another big difference in our day. If you wanted to at certain clubs, and I remember at Chelsea, people were having steak as a pre-match meal. You know what I mean? So they're kicking off at 3 o'clock, at 11:30, they're eating steak and chips.
Yeah. There's that famous thing with Jack Charlton, right? The old what was it called? What's the famous northern chip, fish and chip? The Harry Ramsden challenge, wasn't it? When let's do the Harry Ramsden challenge. Like before.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think so. I think Roy Keane caught me up with it. But Having said that, he was a successful manager. So,
Yeah.
um,
I know someone was trying to do something about it years ago at Liverpool, and said like, it's too heavy for me. Can I have something lighter? And Bill Shankly said, if it's good enough for Joe Louis, son, it's good enough for you. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just sign of the time. But now I just think like now, A, there's fewer games, B, better surfaces, C, refueling habits and diet nutritionary advice is one assumes better. And they take care of business on that front. Most of them are natural athletes anyway, and the workload really is no greater than anybody else's. I think where the you've got these splinter things with regards to the cup in South America and the other one in Africa where they lose players for that's quite an intense period. Then on top of that, you've got the World Cup. You know what I mean? So they're the same with regards to the Europeans who played the European Championship in the World Cup. So it's whereas years ago they could get away with it, maybe it's not as spread out as it once was.
No, and I guess as well, like what would have been the squad, the first team squad when you was at Chelsea, for example? How many players would have been in that?
I remember the last photo. I think it was the 81 season. It was only about 16.
Mate, yeah, it's crazy.
Struggling with numbers. Yeah. It was a big culling process. I didn't realise until quite recently, which is madness. When I signed apprentice in the summer of '76, there was actually a culling process, and other people took pay cuts in the club because the club was really in dire financial trouble. Yeah, I didn't realise that when I signed.
And was that? Oh, they obviously didn't tell you that, did they?
No, it's. I'm looking at it. I just think to myself, I vowed to give myself a choice, which I did, and then my memory even let me down slightly. I forgot Leighton Orient. There was a guy called Maurice Newman offered me dad £350 if I'd signed schoolboy for Leighton Orient, an apprentice for Leighton Orient. Yeah, so I'd already turned down £5,000 from Palace in an envelope off a big mail to stay at Chelsea. Yeah, but it didn't tell it. It was about being around. It was like the feel-good factor of being around the place.
Yeah. Was that when Ken Bates owned it? When did he?
No, he came in. He came in just after I left.
Right.
He came in just after I left. No, it was the Mears family. The chairman was Brian Mears. Yeah, and they got in trouble with the building of the new East Stand as they started to modernise the ground.
Did you buy it for a pound or something, Ken Bates?
That was Bates, yeah. Yeah, but he obviously took on the debts as well.
Yeah.
And then there was a massive culling process, and he got all the debts more or less eradicated. Started getting planning permission for this, that, and the next. New stands, hotels, restaurants, etc. And you go in there now, even like a decade ago, I didn't recognise the place.
Yeah. And then Abramovich, apparently, when he flying over London, was about to buy Spurs and then saw Stamford Bridge. That's the rumour I heard.
No, I don't know.
I'll have that one.
I'll have that one. How I was when my granddad used to take me to the sweet shop. Yeah.
All right. Well, looking at the games then. First game, I think, earliest kickoff on Saturday was the 1-1 draw, Burnley-Arsenal.
I was shocked with that. I was shocked.
Yeah. Arsenal guilty of playing from the back. Granit Xhaka.
Well, it weren't just that. I mean, I looked at it, Joe. I called some away wins, and that was one of them. I just thought they'd have too much in their locker, and then it wasn't until it was like the cattle prodder conceding the goal, really. But they really started the game, blistering pace, good tempo, attack really well, quick passing and movement. I looked at it and I thought to myself, how comes he's not sort of getting his message across with regards to they're getting a supply into the box, but they didn't commit enough men forward. I looked at it, and quite often you could count, even with a couple making recovery runs, 6, 7 Burnley players against 3 or 4 Arsenal. I just thought they needed to flood the box more. And then, like you say, they rolled the dice and suicide again. You know what I mean? Trying to play out from the back. For me, apart from the centre-back, obviously behind him you've got the goalkeeper. The 2 centre-backs, you've got the goalkeeper. So sticking with things traditionally, the goalkeeper and the centre-back should have the best view of the whole pitch. Okay? Yeah, you know, fullbacks tend to be like at an angle looking in. You know what I mean? But you could say, let's say all across the back, right? So if you were just setting them up like Subbuteo players, you say the goalkeeper, and then all across the back, they've got the best view of the pitch, right? But you know, I'll say centre backs because if a fullback goes tight, he don't know what's going on behind him. So that's where you've got to boss him and you've got to see the picture. But I can't for the life of me get my head around the lack of football intelligence with regards to the goalkeeper. Just don't play it there. If you see people, see what it is now, they've got quite cute forwards and they're quite well coached and good advice and you know, the debrief, the flip chart in the hotel, or if they go over it at the ground, someone like Dyche, what he'll do, he'll say, you know, just concede the ball, just drop off 10 yards, 15 yards, and then dare them to roll it out. And that's when you fly in and lock on and press, and you press together.
Yeah.
So what it is, that's what coined the phrase setting traps. You set that trap whereby you concede the ball, you look disinterested, you're not really going to close the ball down, you don't look like you're going to close the ball down. As soon as they roll the ball out, first man flies in, and then it's well, I said it a couple of weeks ago, the session is when to mark players, when to mark space, and then it's basically working your way back from the person who's putting pressure on the ball. I just thought it's professional suicide.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, at what point do you think, you know, we got to wait until we get different personnel? I mean, Granit Xhaka, although it seems like he's been playing quite a lot better this season, or certainly in the last few months, you know, I personally don't think his ball playing technique or skill were that good, and it doesn't surprise me that he's been found wanting or he got caught out. Is it wrong personnel, or is it just naive, or is it just blindly following what the manager says? I mean, who's at fault? I guess.
I think it's all. I think three. I think it's all three. Where Arsenal are concerned, I think it's. You're quite right to say that. You know, just touch on the fact they haven't got the personnel. It's not really what you might call regularly coached at Arsenal, or it wasn't in the past. Like I said in last week's podcast, the only one who's coached it regularly throughout his career is Pep Guardiola. Everybody else is just saying, "Oh, this is en vogue. We'll try and copy this, and we'll try and coach this." Right. So that's the first thing is the personnel. And even with the personnel at Manchester City against Man United, they got caught out because Man United played very high up the pitch. Yeah. Right. So personnel. Secondly, what you said, naive. With regards to what I said about Leno, however you say it, the goalkeeper. Why roll it out? Why invite pressure? You know what I mean? They're not renowned for being the greatest back four anyway to begin with. And as I scratched the surface in bygone podcasts about Liverpool, why would you do it? Try and play your way out, suffer from this idealism when you've got a makeshift back four. You know what I mean?
And also Burnley. Once you're 1-0 up against Burnley, they're not going to be peppering the goal for the rest of the game. It was an early goal. I mean, I know the rest of the game, but Burnley aren't exactly Man City, or you know what I mean? It's like you could just, you know, chill out and play the game riskless, or try not to take as many risks because you don't need to, because they struggle to score anyway.
I totally agree. You go when, all due respect to Burnley, if you go 1-0 up against Burnley and you're Arsenal, I'd be saying let's play in their half now. Let's get the ball forward early and let's play in their half, and then push them back, and then it might well lead to scoring a second or a third. You know what I mean? It's about playing it in blocks, and then like it depends how high or how sort of backwards of the ball you want to be. You know what I mean? Once you go a goal up, I'd say I'd need to get even further up the field.
Poor game management, and I know they scored early, but I'm just trying to look at the league now. I mean,
well, when you say about the coaching, Joe, you say, see, it ties in with what you just said. Poor game management. I'm a great believer in this. This thing can only be instilled right with right from kids. Because what you got to, and then it's got to be drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled. What you got to do, you've got to keep reminding them about their own game management and about, it's what I said in previous podcasts, it's a key word in football, recognise, right? So if you're coaching a goalkeeper in a back four or a back five to play out, So, or even a back three where you're saying that the fullbacks push high and wide, and then the centre backs to split, and the middle one to drop out, and then you've got your two screening can rotate. One can come off what they call one geezer call it like the whirlwind, where one comes short and then the other one goes long to give another option.
Yeah.
If it's not on, the goalkeeper's got to be bright enough to say, squeeze up, you're not getting it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And because if the ball's in his hands, he's in charge of the game. But unless it's coached from when they're kids, I can't see it progressing and getting any better. I can't see it improving. You're still going to get paid. They're even doing it in the lower divisions. They're deluded. No, they are.
No, I know. It's crazy,
yeah, no. We all want to be. We want to coach through the 3/3. We all want to be like try and copy Pep and with thing. And we was doing it in the 70s at Chelsea, 73, 74, 75, 76. Then you get in first team football and it's whoa, hold up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is people's living now. This is not schoolboy. This is not youth team in the South East Counties Division 1 and Division 2. This is people's living now at stake. You understand? So all this like squeeze up, drop out, goalkeeper rolls it out, get it out your feet, threaten the back, come off at an angle, and then if you can't go into the midfield player, he's created an avenue where you might be able to go into the front player's feet, etc., etc. Or out to the fullback. The wide man threatens the back, comes short, so you can just dink it in the corner for the forward to bend his run. Or the winger, he comes short, then threatens the back. So, like I used to coach, the centre forward can come off at an angle and get it to feet. You know what I mean? And build from there. Well, by this time, you're over the halfway line and you can build and you start getting your rotations, outside to in, inside to out, in the second front man, playing off of him, etc. No, it's for me, you're looking at it and it's just a fashion. And it's like I said last week, if you got, it's a theory that stems from my experiences at the FA, and it's a long, long way off of it. But if you've got the complete coach, right, you're more than likely, if he works very, very hard and he gets his players to work very, very hard and they're coached on a regular basis from children, then you're more than likely, as someone who's the complete coach, you're more than likely to turn out the complete footballer with a good understanding of the game. And like you say, game management and being able to recognise situations, and it's got to be done at a split second. It's got to be done in a
subconscious, second. I guess, in a way.
Yeah. Well, the thing they scratched on it at the FA when they were talking about coach reliant to cognitive, which I think is obviously to autonomy. Yeah.
And no, but you made a really interesting point, which, well, hopefully people find as insightful as I did, because about the difference between youth football, under 23s, wherever it is, reserve team football, and then going into the first team, and then it's like, shit. Wow, this is real,
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting. Was it? What was that like? Or was it shocking? Did you feel like it was the same game? Did you feel like your comfort zone? Did you feel as though, this is fine, I know what I'm doing, or fucking hell, this is like different to what I'm used to. This is, I don't know if that's a question, but what was the experience like? I suppose
frenetic. And your mind's your mind's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
After you've done well, you sort of grow and get a bit more relaxed, and then what happened in my case, you make a couple of rickets, and then for an 18, 19-year-old, I got buried. I just got buried in an avalanche of abuse because it was a toxic atmosphere. It was a toxic environment, toxic football club.
And the fans.
Yeah. And there was too many people there. Once the crown jewels were either injured or left, you're basically left with the people who were just cheating their way through the week. And it was just like the atmosphere was just swirling around. You know what I mean? It was just you could cut it with a knife. Financial trouble, 7 managers in 6 seasons. yeah. So I experienced both sides of it.
And
But where you say I'm doing all right, you start to grow. What you don't realise at the time, Joe, is possibly like it's a lot of kidology and a lot. We were talking earlier about setting traps. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff where you get lulled in. They try to lull you into a false sense of security. You don't realise at the time you get more in certain areas of the field. You get more time on the ball.
And that's experience, I guess, just from playing at that level. You just know when to do certain things and when not to, which goes back to the point about Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, just from a personal point of view, I needed to start being a side that was compact because I didn't have the athleticism to get me out of trouble or do otherwise. So yeah, I have to hold my hands up to that. That's just human nature, not being too kind again. Sorry, just nature, not human nature, just nature not being kind enough to me.
Yeah.
But no, where Arsenal concerned, you're talking about multi. I didn't realise till the other day that how many millions he spent. Someone was saying knocking on the door of 110 million or something, 120 million, varying figures. You know what I mean? So you expect a bit more.
Well, you do. Just last question, going back to that, your experience of just that step up going into the first team. In terms of the fans, was you intimidated by the fans, or was you sort of nonplussed? Didn't really make a difference. What was your? Because you can hear them.
Upset. I wasn't intimidated by anybody, and I never have been.
So you didn't have stage fright when you first went out there. You kind of thought, I'm going to embrace this challenge, sort of thing.
No, like butterflies.
Yeah.
Like pre-match nerves, like butterflies, not nerves, but just like excitement. I was gutted because I was just like so desperate to do well for them and the club.
Yeah.
No, I'm not intimidated. Upset would be a better word, and then it affects you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I see Graham Wilkins. He was played. It was one particular game. It was the promotion. I think it was the promotion year. Or it might have been the year after. No, it wouldn't have been like the year after he went up because Eddie Mack had left the club, got promoted, had the row. We've heard different stories about why he had the row. The thing that filtered down was the row was over a club car. We now know different. We know that something went on upstairs in one of the lounges. So Eddie Mack was still at the club. And I remember Graham Wilkins, he completely lost the plot. He completely and utterly lost the plot. He made a mistake, and then there was a bit of a murmur. Then he made another mistake, and then people started coating him off, like getting personal, really proper name calling.
You can hear all this. You don't zone it out. You don't.
Right, well, when especially when the gates are down, when the gates are low, of course you can hear it. You know what I mean? If not, it's a collective one. Right, so then he made a second mistake, and he got a personal coating. He got hammered, and you've got to bear in mind it was similar to another guy who I met in football, who probably in the top 3 nicest people I've ever met in the game and in life. That was Carl Hoddle. So he had to live up to his brother. He was always in the shadow of his brother's name. Right. Well, Graham had the same problem, even though he was the older brother of Ray. Ray was the superstar at Chelsea. He was the go-to guy. He was the one. He was just like head and shoulders above everybody else in everything he did on and off the field. May rest in peace. So he had the added burden of that. Then he made the third mistake, and he just smashed the ball at somebody from
shit.
No. And then when the ball came to him next. Because he done that, all the crowd, obviously, this is the home crowd. This is his own people. He smashed the ball after the third mistake and the personal coating and the groans before that. So he went from groan to personal coating to after that. The next time he got the ball smashing it at someone, the crowd went wee like that.
Oh no!
And then the next time he got the ball, he just smashed it literally vertically up in the air. And
that's terrible.
Yeah. As in like. Yeah, and then we come in the dressing room after.
So he carried on playing. He didn't get pulled off. I was going to say yanked
off. Yeah. We got to name one of the episodes. So we got to name that last episode. Yeah. He come in afterwards, and he literally walked in the shower, walked out, told himself, I've got changed, never said a word to anybody, stormed out. I remember because I was clearing up. I was on duty that night, and it was a Saturday, so it must have been going towards the winter because it was already getting dark, and he just stormed out. And I remember Ray was they had a thing where they had like I suppose you'd call it like a vanity unit where there was a mirror or two mirrors and a couple of air dryers, and the players the first team players. Ray would have been one of them who would have washed himself, washed his hair, and then he'd have done it with the air dryer and a brush, and then they put the cologne on, have a shave, put the cologne on, and all that game because they're going straight out after the game. He was drying his hair, and he just looked like that, and he went. George, his nickname was George after his dad, because his dad was a grizzly fucker, you know what I mean? So they nicknamed him off. I'm assuming that's the case. And he went George like that, and he went like that. He just walked out, drove home. Yeah, he was absolutely crestfallen, devastated. Yeah. So if you let it, it can get to you.
God, yeah. And would anyone have? I mean, I'm sure they didn't, but sort of took him to one side. Would the manager have sort of tried to help him and sort of?
Yeah, Eddie Mack would have done. Yeah. Eddie Mack would have done. He was different gear. Different gear. He was. He was everything that managers now would have loved to have been. Eddie Mack was everything managers now would love to have been, or they would love to be, I should say, and that includes even some of the legendary ones, because he had stuff that other people never had. You know,
like what?
Well, it's quite well documented. Like Sir Alex Ferguson, the most successful, best manager in the history of football in the United Kingdom. He had certain assets, but he was lacking in others. Do you know what I mean? Like coaching. He weren't really a coach. Eddie Mack could do the lot.
Yeah.
Eddie Mack, charisma, great with the press, great with people, great in the director's lounge, great with the crowd, great with the players, and could coach. You know what I mean? So he had the added thing of that. You know what I mean? He was like just oozed charisma and know-how. He had everything, had absolute everything, and just a diabolical loss to the game, really.
And would you, just going back to the crowd thing, I know I keep labouring the point now, but would anyone have told you, sort of as you was about to get into the first team, don't listen to the crowd, or don't let them get on your back, or do this, do things simple so the crowd are on your side, or did anyone give you advice? Because to me, as someone that's obviously I've played football, but not, you know, I've played in front of nobody, a man and his dog type thing. So that's the one thing I've got no comprehension of what it's like to play in front of thousands of people. To me, it's kind of mind blown. But
yeah, there's people who've got their untouchable and they've got no agenda. Like Ray Wilkins, he would give you advice. Ronnie Harris, on the face of it, although he carried on for another 2 or 3 seasons, was coming to the end of his career. So he tried to give me some advice. David A, he had a detached retina. So really his days in football were coming to an end. He used to give advice. But other than that, there's people.
It wasn't like a club thing. Like
no, at Chelsea, no. It was there was an environment where after Eddie Mack left and after the promotion winning season, under Ken Shalato, Danny Blanchflower, Jeff Hurst, it was dog eat dog, and the club was full of dogs. You know what I mean? In the end, I was happy to get away from it. I'll be honest with you, I was happy to get away from it. There was people who would they just love to see you fall flat on your face, come unstuck. You know what I mean? So it was never going to help you.
Did you ever experience that anywhere else? And the reason I ask is, I'm not promising I want to talk about my experiences of football, but it seems to me that the higher the standard, from my experience, the more you're playing for yourself, as opposed to the team. And how did you overcome that? And did you just eventually get a team spirit when you kind of proved your worth after a certain period of time?
It was so fragmented. It was hard to get any team spirit there. And then what you had age groups who'd come through together. So I was 2 age groups behind people, and you had to go a really, really, really long way which I think on occasions I did in like in training and certain games to sort of earn some credibility. You know, so I think respect is too strong a word, because there's some of them that didn't have any respect for themselves, or even for their teammates who they'd come through the age groups with. So I definitely weren't going to get any. And then it got to a stage where some of them were so full of themselves they would like ridicule trophy-winning captains like Ronnie Harris. You know what I mean? So I was like an 18, 19-year-old kid who just joined in first-team training. I weren't going to get any. No one was going to doff their cap to me. You had to earn it. But no, it was already very fragmented. And I think you're right. I think you're spot on. In my experience, you're spot on. The higher you go, the more people play for themselves. Yeah.
Which it seems counterintuitive and counterproductive.
Yeah, well, I think yeah. Well, of course it is. No, without a doubt, it's because the most successful teams. I mean, what they do, they do everything together. Even though like back in those days, it was more of a drinking culture, so they would do everything together, including the drinking. But it was like they would dine together, go out together. You hear the tales with. I've read both their books, Hudson and Osgood, recently. The Peter Osgood one, Adrian Durham bought it for me. He sent it me as a Christmas present. So I've done that. I've done the one Lord Hudson gave me, and then there's like a common thread. And then you get to a certain age group, which was the one under Eddie Mack. You know, it was very cliquey, very, very cliquey, and you know, it was hard work trying to break into it.
And I suppose that's from sort of from a fan's point of view, outsiders looking in. That's not something you would know or see, and therefore, you know, I wonder whether that's still prevalent in the game now when teams have a dip in form and, you know, the manager loses the dressing room or whatever.
I'm assuming the advice Alex Ferguson got off of Sir Bobby Robson, or Bobby Robson as he was at the time, don't just buy good players, buy good people.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's part of what he meant by it, because like what you want is my interpretation of it is a good person. What he meant by being a good player and a good person. A good person would be honest in his endeavours, as in show good character and honesty during the week in training, and apply it on a Saturday. So you knew they'd roll their sleeves up and what you was going to get.
Yeah.
You know, on their ability, because he used to say, you know, ability is not enough. You got to basically apply yourself to cash in on the ability. And I'm assuming the other side of it is what he means by good people is like having a good person off the football field.
Yeah.
In and around the dressing room, in and around the ground.
Yeah.
You know, but unfortunately, at that time, people would mistake good manners and kindness for weakness. You know, because there was no one there who would. If they'd like to touch paper with me, it'd be fucking history within minutes. No, yeah. there was no, you know. No. I come from a different background. You know what I mean? People where I'm from, you go there and you think yourself, well, hold on, you know, you signed schoolboy, you signed apprentice. From the minute I walked in the club, there were people like trying to come on top. You know what I mean? Because it was a cliquey Sunday side that mainly represented Chelsea. Two cliquey Sunday sides, Sam Rab and Mitcham Royals. I was this kid from North London on his own. You know what I mean? It would have been easy for me to fucking rip someone to shreds, but then you think you get aimed out of the club, and then it goes round. Why did he leave the club? So then it tells the other 9 clubs I could have signed for. Well, he fucking opened up on this geezer, battered him for fucking 15 minutes to a pulp. You know what I mean? And you know, it took him however many weeks to recover. He's a troublemaker. You know, I went on the thing about it the other day when they're going on about, listen, before we come on here, we was joking about the royal family and the beer, I said about them, just a family, this and this. The thing Monday night, I mean, all the stuff that she's going on about, me and my missus went through far worse, because I copped it from the Bubbles and my missus copped it from the English. On top of that, she copped it from the English again when I took it to Stamford Bridge. And we went to end of season dinner dances. And people are getting a bit pissed, including me. And I'm having a dance and a kiss and a cuddle with my missus. And Ray Lewington comes up, says, "Who's that fucking piker you were snogging?" Six, his bird is a refugee. Yeah. His bird is a refugee. I'd already said to her mum and dad, we're going to get married. I'd already said to her, we're going to get married. Do you know what I mean? So this is the toxic shit you got to put with. And what do I do? What do you do? I just went fucking red and swallowed it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? If it had caught me in the wrong frame of mind when I got in the first team and I was going out down the King's Road with a few of the chaps, and then I went to Millwall, A&E within a few minutes.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But it spoils the evening, doesn't it?
Of course it does, yeah.
So what happens is I just tried not to let it spoil my evening. He ends up the pinnacle of the game. He ends up at the pinnacle of the game. But very few people know when he was a young footballer, he was a fucking obnoxious lager lout. You know what I mean? But it's all right. I forgave him at the time, so I'll forgive him now. It don't sound like it, but what do I care two fucks about him?
Yeah.
I'm just saying what my reaction could have been. You know?
I get it, and it's actually even you saying that it was essentially to somebody's side. You know, Senrab. I've heard of Senrab. Was that's where your man, the coach from Chelsea, was. Oh God, you know, the one that was there when you was there, who went on to Crewe, the top.
Dario
Grady, yeah, he was at Senrab, wasn't he, for a bit?
They used to do bits and pieces like favours.
Right.
You know what I mean? To take a session or whatever to get the pick of the kids. Yeah. There was loads of stuff going on there. A lot of stuff that I've got to try and bring out in my second book that's not been covered. At the end of the day, I'll never name names the first time. So this is like what I'm telling you now is breaking news. Because in my first book, I never named any names. But yeah, so I copped it off her godmother, and who was her aunt as well. It was her mum's sister who christened her. And she's saying, what are you doing with it? To my face, what are you doing with this boy? You should be marrying a nice Greek boy. He's not good enough for you. Look, he's too ugly. We're just about to go to a wedding. I'm being called ugly and not good enough, and blah blah blah. And you've got to marry so we've all had racism, if you want to call it racism. We've all been victims. We've all been fucking dug out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you know the irony. She was married to a Jamaican. Right, so she said like her two daughters and her goddaughter, my missus, had to marry nice Greek boys. One of her daughters married an Italian. One of her daughters was engaged to a Greek boy, and it got broke off because of racial tensions. Because her dad was black. It was my wife's godfather, Chris, and my wife Roy. His real name's Ruel, Uncle Roy, and may he rest in peace now. But she'd experienced like massive racism, right? Her family took her to Cyprus twice to get her away from him, to break it off, so that the thing. Yeah. So the point I'm making, Joe, is this, right? In a very roundabout way. Yeah. Someone somewhere along the line, and at Chelsea it was me. Someone has to break the cycle. You understand? So what happens is, if I get insulted about my wife being a foreigner, right, by some ginger-haired elephant and castle fuck, right, who's a fucking midget and runs like a 2-year-old, right, and was lucky to get a living out of it, right?
You forgive him now.
No, I do well, yeah. I'm just saying what I should have just gone like that, gone fuck off before you get hurt. Yeah. What he used to do is create a lot of trouble and then run and hide behind Derek Richardson. I wouldn't give a fuck who it is, you know what I mean? 6'4" black goalkeeper. You know what I mean? I'll get on with any of them. But yeah, so I broke the cycle. I just thought, rather than spoil the evening, I look at the ground, go a bit red, don't tell me wife,
be the future man.
Wife, and try and But this is the problem.
Rise above it if possible.
Yeah. And he ends up the pinnacle of the game. I'll get thrown out for effing and blinding at overpaid underachievers. I wonder if they'd have known him then, what they, you know what I mean, whether he'd have ended up the pinnacle of the game. And really and truly now, the racist overtones that it had. What he said to me.
Actually, we can move on to his team, Liverpool Fulham. I know. He's at Crystal Palace now. He was at Fulham with
Chelsea sold him to Fulham. He went through the card, didn't he? He was a player coach, player manager. You know what I mean? He acquitted himself well. I mean, I think it's well documented now. He'd done his 4 badges under Hodgson and built up the relationship from there, I think. From what I can gather, reading between the lines, what I've been told, second-hand information, I might be wrong, and he's been with him ever since. Good luck to him.
Yeah. So getting back to the football.
No, just dispelling, see all the myths. You're a punter. People are listening to this. Yeah. If they look at certain people, they look at me and they just think, you know, gregarious thug. You know what I mean? Which I'm not. I'm the complete opposite. Right, and then they look at certain people, let's say him, and they think fucking butter won't melt in his mouth.
Yeah. No,
I can assure you, it would, and it did.
And yeah, I think it's good to explain that there's an awful lot of grey, and nothing's black and white. And you know, it's I think people tend to want to believe
the black and white stuff.
The
black and white. It's people's perception. That's the black and white of it. It's people's perception. And then, like, they end up so far wide of the mark. You know what I mean? I just wanted to train and play and be left alone.
Yeah. So anyway, Liverpool lost at home to Fulham. So
result of the decade.
I was going to say, what's I mean, how?
But then again,
the annals of history, you know, what's going on there? I mean, it's got to be Klopp's worst ever period as a manager. Liverpool.
Well, it's a shock. It's a shock. It's a surprise.
5 in a row, aren't they? Is it 5 in a row?
Six now. It 5. They broke the record. They broke the record in 129-year history. The worst run ever in their thing, whatever it is, something 129, 120 odd. And then Fulham came after. And you look at it, Joe. What I was going to say is, you go, "Oh, what a shock!" But really and truly, then you say, "Whoa, hold on. Let's sit back. Let's break this down." Right? It's not a shock. It's not a shock. When you think about it, it's not a shock.
No.
It wasn't a shock in the respect that it came out that everywhere they went, they flew up to the game, and he was saying there, "I'm not just looking for a point here. We can beat these." He had the manager has such a positive mental attitude. Then you look at the circumstances. Liverpool, another makeshift back four. Then you look at the fact that despite all the damage that's been done to them over the previous games, they didn't have the ability. They haven't got the ability. Klopp hasn't got the ability. The coaching staff haven't got the ability, or the players haven't got the ability to change the defensive strategy. They still try and press it, and they still try to play high up the pitch. And then, like, you've got the introduction of certain players in the Fulham ranks who, you know, they exploit it with their passing and on a couple of occasions their pace.
Was it poor Liverpool then, or brilliant Fulham, or a combination?
Yeah, combination. It's a combination. He's just having one of them periods in you get parts of your life like that. Someone went on Twitter today. I didn't really think it might be my fault. It might be people's perception. I might have overplayed it. They were talking about when I did an interview back in 2016 for Pitch Talk, and I was talking about depression, which is very fashionable now. I think people are just too ready to latch onto it with regards to struggling to cope, this and this. And I maybe overplayed my thing a little bit. Maybe overdid my. I don't know what it was. I mean, my father-in-law saw something in me after the Orient debacle, and he said, "Come and live with us for a little while." Do you know what I mean? So maybe he detected something. But really and truly, once I've worked through it, people, I've been around people, they go, "No, I don't care. Fuck it. I don't give a fuck." But I'll get to a stage where they're putting on a false bravado, but I'll get to a stage where it really is the case. So the point I make is I'd lost my mum, and I'd had an absolute nightmare few months juggling 6 jobs. Which someone asked me on Twitter or on a thing earlier, what's your greatest achievement in football, right? So there's a few things. And one of them would be part of the job that I did at Leyton Orient, right? Well, Klopp's going through one of them periods now. He's lost a parent. I forget where I read it. I don't know if it's his mum or his dad.
I think about his mum.
His mum. He couldn't fly out to be with the family.
Because of COVID, yeah.
Because of COVID. He couldn't pay his final last respects. And then on top of that, he's got to manage one of the biggest football clubs in the world who blew everybody away last year.
Yeah.
And he's won a league, the first league in 30 odd years, and the European Champions League the year before. Where does it go from now? The only way's down, isn't it? Unless you replenish. And then people have been giving him pelters with regards to being able to replenish, including me. But I've defended him. Certain people are giving him pelters with regards to being able to underpin the squad, like for like, which touches on what I mentioned earlier. There's only a couple of clubs can do that.
Yeah.
Right. So he's quite clearly shown they ain't got the strength in depth. So he's having one of them periods in his life where, a bit cliched as it is, you've got to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah.
Part of the cycle of life is losing your parent. And then the other thing with regards to football, which incidentally, when it comes to on a human level, any kind of football pales into insignificance, I'm sure he'll work his way through that. I happen to believe like that he's done really well for the club. If I was managing him as an agent, I'd say to him, not seriously consider getting to the end of the season and doing what Guardiola did.
Have a year out.
Have a year out the game. I remember him being pictured in a bar in New York, just finishing a beer. Like sitting there, more or less an empty bar, but you could see up and down the bar, the mahogany. He's leaning like that, and he's just finishing a beer. So he's doing a bit of cherry picking with regards to ideas, going over stuff he might have done. What could I have improved on? Blah blah blah, and just clear your mind, and he'll come back a better person for it, and then get another job somewhere else.
Pochettino did that as well, didn't he?
Well, no, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I might be talking out of turn. It's only second-hand information. I think that was forced on him because he never got his settlement from Spurs in a lump sum. He was paid a call like on a weekly or fortnightly basis or monthly basis, how he was when he was on the staff. So rather than give him a one settlement, they said we'll keep paying you until, which is normally the thing, which is the other option they get. Clubs get, managers get, we'll keep paying you until you get another job. Well, obviously, he's going to take his time getting another job, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? And he's just going to do what suits him. If he's going to be paid weekly, why stress? There's worse things that can happen, isn't it, than getting paid 100 grand a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For
Definitely.
gardening. Yeah,
that's right.
And then like ring your agent every day, ring your manager agent every day. What's in the pipeline? What's coming up? Do a bit of punditry. Go back, plant another rose bush. Open a bottle of red, go back to Spain, come back to England. You know what I mean? Now he's there and he's yeah.
When will Parker get the respect he deserves?
I think he's been getting it. I'll do.
do.
I'll do. Yeah, no,
no one seems to mention it. They always seem to talk now. Still in the bottom three. What he's turned the whole club around.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, yeah. You're what you're saying is a sweeping generalisation. What I've done is I think I've given him like massive respect on the podcast we've done. And what I've also done is like in an advisory capacity early on, I said they're guaranteed they're going to go down because it's a recipe for disaster. He's got like back players at the back, which he's addressed. Because I'll tell you, I really like the centre back combination they've got at the moment. And the fair-haired, don't know, was he Scandinavian?
Anderson.
Yeah, him. Yeah. He looks the real deal. So someone could come and say, you know what, we'll have. I don't know if he's 24 or 34, but someone like Arsenal could do a lot worse. Someone like Spurs could do a lot worse. Someone like Chelsea could do a lot worse than be looking at him. Right. So I just said, all I said, Joe, at the time was, right, because they could well wriggle out of it now. But what I said was, I've been in this situation myself. And when you're fundamentally during the week, drilling, organising, team shape, you're still conceding goals. I said disparagingly of a couple of Fulham defenders, I've seen better defenders in non-league, right? Then at the other end, you couldn't score. It's a recipe for disaster. Well, what he's done is Lookman on loan, someone in place of Mitrovic.
I think he brought in 8 players or something crazy, which is sort of unheard of to bring that many players in once the season started and then to bed them in. I mean, I can't think of another example where that's worked.
Well, not there, for the simple reason. Well, you ain't got to go. You haven't got to go back very far. with regards to the situation he inherited. I think they spent something like 120 million, 130, 140 million on 11 new players, and they couldn't integrate.
Couldn't gel them,
they couldn't gel, couldn't bed them in, couldn't get them fused, right? Consequently, they went down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so then he brings them up, he galvanises them, brings them up, and then he's had to galvanise them again. Or what I did say is, regardless what he goes on to achieve, I think it'd be the greatest achievement of his coaching and managing career, because they look dead and buried. And now everyone else is nervous now. You know what I mean? Like
you're dragging them all in.
Yeah, your Brightons and your Newcastles.
Even
you know
Burnley. Even Burnley. And that's why that result against Arsenal was such a good result. Even that 1 point, it's
I think Burnley are hang on for the simple reason they've got he's surrounded himself with proper people there.
Yeah, I must get on to a question from Rob Curtin on Twitter. Thanks, Rob, for the question. He asked, as a player, can you tell if the opposition aren't up for it? And that was specifically related to the Liverpool Fulham game, because
you can.
The press was that Liverpool weren't up for it.
Yeah,
you get a sense. You smell it in the air.
Yeah. It's like
smell blood.
Well, it's sort of, you love a boxing analogy. It's like if you've got someone, first couple of digs you put in, or they've give you a dig, and then it's they feel
power.
I can pluck a name out of the area, but I'm not going to. I'll see him first time in ages a little while back, and he trains every day. He's up religiously every day to train, and he looked and felt like he'd been carved out of granite. So the point being, if you think, I ain't going to be able to cope. I ain't going to be able to handle this.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's like the same on the football field. You see a lack of energy, a lack of purpose, body language crap. Everything comes easy in terms of winning your headers, winning your tackles, winning your interceptions. You just think, they're a yard off the pace. Yeah, they're not having. The key is, right, what I'd say to Rob is, the key is cashing in on it.
Yeah.
Because it's totally waste of time being dominant over your opposite number and holding all the aces in terms of let's say eight or nine of your teammates plus you're winning all your 1v1s, right? It's a complete waste of time if you don't cash in on it.
Yeah.
And win, you know what I mean? I've played in a couple.
Stamp on the neck, just grind them down.
Well, but that's the game.
You got to win,
I've had it done to me. I mean, I think I had one hiding. Nottingham Forest. It was only like reigning European champions, but we lost 6-0 at the Forest ground. Got absolutely fucking battered, and I mean battered in every way, shape, or form. I mean, you had Kenny Burns and Larry Lloyd having a cigar with Trevor Aylott up front for us. John Bumstead in midfield, rings running around him by John McGovern and Bowyer. And then you got Trevor Francis in the first 2 minutes, top Graham Wilkins. And then with about 10 minutes to go, he topped me. And they were winning 6-0. He fucking done my knee ligament, stamped on my knee. As I cleared the ball, he come right in on my knee. And as Graham chipped the ball forward, he left his foot in on Graham Wilkins in the first 3 minutes, said, have that. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, he was quite right what he said afterwards. Brian Clough, I was standing in the corridor with a bandage on my knee, bigger than your fucking head. Right? And he's got it. Yeah, he said to the press, anything for us, Brian? He said, yeah, men against boys. Simple as that. I'm off to get a drink. Men against boys. Yeah.
And Trevor Francis seems quite a nice man.
Yeah. But the point being, it looks at it just go like, we'll take a few liberties with the kids.
Welcome to the men's room.
Yeah, to the men's room, yeah. So in answer to Rob, you've got to cash in on it. You've got to be ruthless. I mean, I played in a couple. We had an 8-0 at home. Colchester, we had an 8-0 away, Rochdale. Once you got, that's the thing, you know what I mean? It's rear naked chokehold. What do? Once they've passed out, you snap the neck.
That's the clip for today's episode, I think. Rear naked chokehold. Just snap the neck. And then people got to guess who he's about. That's the quiz. That's the little quiz for this week, I think. Right, I'm going to ask you 2 questions on 2. So Man United obviously beat Man City. Good result, brilliant result, and ended Man City's ridiculously long run. But I thought one player to pick out from that performance was Luke Shaw, who scored the 2nd goal.
Yeah.
Should he start for England in the Euros?
Yeah, it's a good question because I don't know whether I'm right in saying it. I mean, are we particularly well blessed in that area?
You've got Chilwell at Chelsea, but he hasn't been playing, has he? He's like Hair Tuchel's playing Alonso now. Yeah, not. I can't really, oh, and Creswell at West Ham, who's actually having a very good season.
Yeah, he's got decisions to make then, hasn't he, Mr. Southgate?
Mr. Southgate. Yeah. Spurs won very comfortably against Palace. Cruised to a win. In the end,
yeah.
Bale played well. Can he be world class again, or is he? He's on the slide. Is he 10 past 12?
No, I don't think he is, because I think he's just an unbelievably natural athlete. So I just think as long as he manages his body okay, we know that he's got just ridiculous ability. Just unbelievable, some of it, what he does. And yeah, I just think he's just starting to bear fruit now. You know what I mean? It's almost as if like he sort of toying, you know what I mean? It's like two cars racing, and he just goes bump like, and he's got to sit there. They've got 5, and he's just got that 6th extra. You know what I mean?
It's like a languid sort of talent. Yeah.
It's just how bad he wants it. But what I liked is what he said is, I wouldn't have come back if I didn't think I could help. Do you know what I mean? So if they're talking about doing a deal for another year for him, and Real Madrid are opening, it happens. There's obviously bad blood there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Zidane don't like him, does he?
I just think like it's that thing though, isn't it? With like Europeans, maybe I don't know whether so much us. I don't think we're particularly good at it. You know what I mean? If they fall out with someone, it can turn spiteful. I don't think it's the case with us. I just think we just move on, don't we?
Yeah, you know? Don't bear grudges. Yeah,
sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that. I know what you mean. It's the diplomatic culture. It's a polite culture in Britain, I suppose.
Yeah, for some of us.
Yeah.
I'm not renowned for my diplomacy.
I was going to say. Yeah.
But then again, my ancestors supposedly they're from the borders of France and Spain. So it might be that. Yeah, might be that coming out of me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because once they go, that's it, finito. You know what I mean?
Red mist descends.
Yeah, there's no way back for him now, so he might as well make a go of it here.
I thought you meant you.
You know what I'd have done? I'd have said to him ages ago. He's obviously done it. He's done it as a sulk, protestation. I'd have just gone, look. It's like I used to say to the youngsters and the first team players at Leyton Orient when I found out there was the Tuesday Club, and a couple of the younger players, one of them good football IQ, good player in particular, but I was looking out for both of them. I just said, look, you've got the rest of your life. When you get, I call it the afterlife. When you get to 32, 33, 34, you can't play football anymore. Nobody wants you. Nobody's interested in you. The phone don't ring. You've got the rest of your life, what I call the afterlife, to get on the piss, eat too much, and etc. Well, I'd have said the same to Gareth Bale. You know what I mean? I understand where you're at, but I'm not talking to you now as your agent. I'm talking to you now as your friend as well as your agent. You've got the rest of your life to play golf. Let's graft. And I understand the concept of like he's on X amount there, and he's gone. As a sort of it's like a standoff. You know what I mean? He's gone. Well, okay, fair enough. You still got to pay me. He ain't going to pull up any trees to get back in the side. Something political going on. I don't know. No one knows the real reasons. But what I would have said to him, 100%, I'd have gone, turn it in, because it's only going to, people are going to start taking the piss and having a pop about you being on the golf course anyway, which they did. So I'd have been proved right. I'd have gone. I'd have said to him, "You've got the rest of your life to play golf. Let's knuckle down and get you somewhere out on loan."
And yet, what was funny was he was playing well for Wales, and when he scored for Wales, he used to swing a golf club as his celebration.
Yeah.
So it was really personal, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it confirms what I said. It was a thing there. There was like a a Mickey take there with regards to, okay, if you're going to leave me out the side, I'm going to play well for Wales. The rest of the time, I'm going to try and get my handicap down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to play them games with me, I'll play them games with you. But I'd have said, no, you've got the rest of your life to play them games.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Just moving on to Chelsea.
Joe, you're not a footballer for a long time.
No, I can imagine.
You're not a footballer for a long time. And people said to me at the start, it's got you to go quick. And you just think like anybody else, you know what I mean? You're 18, like you're thinking like, what the fuck do you know?
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
history repeats itself.
Yeah, he's mad. He's mad. How quick it goes. You've got to suck the bone marrow out of it, mate. You know what I mean? You've got to make the most of everything, even the bad times. That's my belief.
Yeah, Harry Turkle, another comfortable win.
I can see by your face it's give you the ump again.
I'm waiting until you pick me up if we keep calling him Harry Turkle. But I just think he kind of he just looks like a Harry Turkle, doesn't he? You know, he just does.
Well, you see that? Did you see that? You don't know whether he's playing like he's the teacher's pet, but Reece reckons he's a funny guy. He reckons he's a funny. He said he's taught him a few tricks. He said the training that we've been drilling relentlessly, paraphrasing obviously, but what I'm not paraphrasing, he said he's a funny guy. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show you.
Looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, it's just the perception, the public perception, and then behind closed doors, he's a bit more light-hearted and what have you.
Yeah, fair enough. And I actually looked up his background, and it's actually very similar sort of background to Klopp.
Yeah, that's called stalking.
Yeah, but what I mean is they were both.
You're obsessed with him.
I am obsessed with him. Yeah, but they're both.
You're a Spurs muppet. That's
no, I'm not. It's not nothing. I'm not a proper fan. I'm not one of them sort of fanatical fans. You know, I just like watching any game. Really,
I'm only tormenting. I'm tormenting you.
It's fine.
Go
on. Make me nervous now. But no, yeah, Thomas Tuchel is similar, as in he played sort of Division 1 or whatever in the Bundesliga, centre half. Didn't play. I think he played 40 or 50 pro games. I know Klopp played more, but essentially Klopp wasn't top player.
Yeah.
There's
a few of us like that.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it's true. Very similar. Very charismatic. Well, certainly Klopp's very charismatic.
Listen, what happens is, right? So, he was another one, Wenger, 6'1", pony centre back, right? Absolute pony, right? But what it is, no, listen. When someone said years ago, right, and I took it on board. When you've got you got a situation with certain people. They were so, the classic example close to home is Hudson, right? The game it came to them so easily,
yeah,
and so naturally they didn't have to think about it. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I
do. And then what happens is sometimes it can become too easy. So there's what you end up, and that even at that, I think I was at that stage with South East counties and combination. But then football, you think to yourself, oh, I've arrived. So what happens is you go out, you start abusing your body, and then you pay the penalty, you pay the price. So it's the same with coaching. You have certain people, they had to think about the game a bit deeper, a bit more, a bit. They're more comprehensive, they're more profound, because they couldn't take the game they couldn't take the game for granted. Like some people can, so I think he might fall into that category.
Yeah, and you know what? I apologise for not realising the connection there, because, like you say, I'm not saying you're a pony centre half, but
no, I was a good centre back. I was 7.5, 8 out of 10 every week. You can count on one hand the number of bad games I had, and then really and truly, when I look back, even when I look at it now, the more I look at it now, the better the player I was. The fucking defending now is criminal. I'm looking at watching that last night, that EFL Quest, and you're just thinking, what's going on here? Then what are the people like with regards to what they're letting them get away with? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I said to you, I'm sorry, but a lot of them are delusional, I'm afraid.
Can West Ham finish in the top 4?
Yeah, they can.
Will they? Will they? Obviously they can, but will they?
No, probably not.
Okay.
No, probably
Glad
not.
to clarify
But
that.
no, but they can. I mean, all they've got to do is they maintain their belief. They've got to maintain their belief. They've got to set their own stall out with regards to how they want to approach it, how they want to play. And I think what he's bought is, without really achieving anything in the game, Moyes has had an unbelievable manager. He's 57 now, apparently. He looks 67, to be truthful with you. But that's what happens when you're a manager, a lifelong manager in the game. Because I said to my missus the other day, how old do you think he is? So I'm going on what I read in the paper. She said, a bit older than you. I said, no, he's 5 years younger than me. I said, see how good I look? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I said, that's because you, because you can obviously tell he gets a 36 hours out of a 24-hour day. That's the type of guy he strikes me as being. Right. Well, at the end of the day, he's gotten to a stage now where they set their stall out and keep believing. There's no reason why. And you know what he's done as well. He's found a way to be a bit more light-hearted and take the mickey. I read a thing the other day. He said the owner said something about Declan Rice being it'd take 100 million to prize him away. So Declan Rice said, "What was all that about?" They said, "I'm worth 100 million," and then Moyes apparently said to the assembled media, "He's not worth 100 million like that," and it's one of them. ... He's worth more than that. You know what I mean? So it's like he's found a light-hearted way of building the players, and building the players' esteem up even more. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable how things take a turn, because when you look at it, really, he only achieved with Everton what's being achieved now.
Yeah.
You understand? One assumes that Everton are a top 6, top 7 side in the Premier League. You understand? This, I think, is a bigger achievement. I think he's right what he said. We should be looking for some sort of European football. I'm slightly paraphrasing again, but he did say in the paper we should be looking to achieve some sort of European. So what he's saying is, if we don't make the Champions League, we should, by rights, be pushing for a Europa League place.
Yeah, 5th or 6th, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility at all.
Well, I would say they should. They should finish in top 6. I mean, if they don't, that's how many games left? 9, 10?
Right, what did I say to you last week about consistency is a derivative of attitude and desire, right? So if he's got the players there, right, they've got their abilities confirmed. He's actually even got more out of some players at the back than other people have been able to, and more out of certain players in midfield than other people have been able to, right? So revered foreign managers, etc. So he's gone above and beyond the call of duty there. Then all it's about then is consistency. And like I said last week, consistency is about attitude and desire, because you can't have the ability one week and then all of a sudden it deserts you. You've still got that ability. It's about how you approach it. It's about how you make the most of that ability, with regards to putting in a shift.
Yeah. Just wanted to ask a few general sort of questions, really, if you're up for that. But I
noticed you skipped over Chelsea. Then we skipped over the Chelsea.
No, we were talking about Thomas Tuchel. Well, I was going to actually. Well, okay, I can ask you. What's his secret? I mean, you mentioned the drills and the behind the scenes, the humour and all that. But he's come in to me as a punter, as you say, from the outside.
It's giving you a migraine.
Well, it's a procession of he's waltzed in. He's been quite. He's made some aggressive decisions from my point of view. He's brought immediately pulled players out of the team and put players in the team. A lot of them come from the same country as him, and he's dug out players. When we mentioned it last week with Hudson-Odoi. But that said, the results don't lie, do they? And they look a much better, solid outfit compared to Lampard. So,
he got a bit more experience with Alonso.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ratio is, but he nicks the odd goal every now and again. He's got Reece James and Hudson-Odoi bang at it, because he's converted a winger into a wing back, and he's got a full back who is a wing back, and he's got them two at it. So, made a best man win. So there's competition for places there. He's got Mount's having a renaissance.
Yeah, I was going to say, does he start for England?
Oh, it's a big ask, isn't it? There's so much talent there now.
What's your team? Quickly?
Well, it depends.
Start 11.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you closer to the time, because I want to see how the goalkeepers do. Like, I made that call, but I don't get no credit for it. I made that call about three episodes ago about giving De Gea a fuck off tablet. They should have cashed in on him for multi-millions a couple of years ago and made Henderson their number one.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what they're doing now, they're using it as an excuse. He's 30 years old. So, all right, goalkeepers can play till 35, 36, 37, maybe even 38. Well, what you should think, they're just look to cash in and get a few quid for him now, because it's this kid's time now. Even he said it the other day, and it's fantastic the way he put it, Roy Keane. He just said it's his chance. He's got to grab it with both hands, pardon the pun. But he just said, everybody, listen to this. Everybody needs a little bit of luck in their career. Right, because people were saying about, I've been having conversations with Millwall supporters and all that. And then the year I left, we finished above them, just missed out on promotion with Gillingham. And then they started to build a team under George. And then Johnny Dock came in. So you had that just a mental side, Cascarino, Teddy Sheringham, Terry Erlock, that little mob. You know what I mean? Les Briley,
Razor Ruddock.
Ex-Chelsea. Razor was coming through the ranks when I was there. Yeah. That's what I mean. It evolves very quickly in football. Someone said, "Sitch, you just missed out on the glory days." And I referred them to Roy Keane. I said, in my case, along came a see you next Tuesday called Peter Anderson.
Okay.
Got it? Capital C.
Yeah, see you next Tuesday. Yeah, the acronym, yeah.
Right. Called Peter Anderson. Bombed me out.
Oh.
Yeah. Didn't like. I was. What was I wearing? What can I say? He liked Boss. I was wearing Armani. That's the dividing line.
Yeah. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Someone don't like the cut of your jib. Don't matter how well you train and play. You keep yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
They've got their preconceived plans in their head, and nothing's going to get in the way of it. Nothing you can do and change it.
Well, and that's a bit like the Thomas Tuchel thing, in the sense that it's like you almost feel like you come in to make a statement and drop players that may have just been sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time, And now, someone like Chilwell, now he's out the side for.
I just think, like, from a personal experience, Joe. What happens when a new thing you get they call it the new manager bounce. What happens is everybody's blood pressure goes up 10%. Everyone's adrenaline goes up 10%. Everyone's appetite goes up 10%. Everyone who was aggrieved, they now got a clean slate. Everyone who was like on the crest of a wave, they've got a clean slate. Anyone on the crest of a slump, they've got a clean slate. You understand what I mean? But he's come in with preconceived ideas. I'm going to go with what I like, the look of.
He keeps playing Werner. I mean, the bloke can't back door with a banjo, whatever. His arse with a banjo, whatever the phrase is.
I've been like the thing, all the Chelsea chaps, like the 195 and all that. The podcasts, we've been to and fro on Twitter about it. You know what I mean? No, I understand. I understand about Werner and all that, but it's like maybe it ties in with another theory that I've always had. And again, I can only go back to my second book. This is what I can't understand. Where we've got these football clubs, it's like the United Nations now. Right. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I've got my own theories on English football and what should have happened. I've got my own theory on average foreigners taking the place of decent English youngsters and this thing and all that. But the ratio's gone up, apparently. It's now up to 40% from 30%, according to Gareth Southgate in the paper. So, we've got a broader canvas. He's got a broader canvas to paint on, right? But all said and done, I can't understand for the life of me why a British manager would have, and it obviously ain't the case, but then it's the same but different. So you've got a foreign manager, like you might have a Portuguese, Jose's case. You've got an Argentinian, so the predominant language is Spanish with Pochettino. You've had French managers. You've got the one doing well at Barnsley at the moment. You've got who else? So Tuchel, he's like German, right?
Mm.
So it's a similar thing. I could never understand why a British manager would have 8 different languages in his dressing room. Because I promise you, as sure as God made little green apples, right? Players will find a way to cut corners. They'll find a way to nick a yard, have a little cheat, etc., etc. What you don't want is a language barrier when you're going to dig them out. It's already hard enough with British players. You know what I mean? Unless you find the ultimate, and you can trust them implicitly, regardless of language barrier. You know what I mean? But I could never understand. I could never understand a British manager making life difficult for himself, because how are you going to learn? How are you going to speak Portuguese, French, Spanish? All right, I suppose you could get away with that, but you could get away with those 3, particularly French and Spanish. But you could get away with those 3, even with Africans. You know what I mean? Because you've got a lot of countries where their first language is French.
It's French, yeah.
Being former French colonies. But at the end of the day, I could never understand why make life difficult for yourself. I just think the point being, at Chelsea, I think he's given himself the best possible chance in terms of communication, fellow countrymen, help me get off to a winning start, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And he can work in shorthand. You know what I mean? So that might be the thing that answers Werner.
Interesting to see if he plays Gibson. Your mate Gibson.
Gibson.
The little Scottish centre midfielder.
Gilmore.
Sorry, Gilmore.
Yeah,
Gilmore.
Billy.
Sorry. Billy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking from a personal point of view. I mean, I'd build a team around him. That's my own personal preference.
And presumably he's fit and healthy, and
I think he's had a couple of niggles, and then there was talk about him going out on loan, and then there was even talk about him going on loan to West Ham, which would have been ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? So that was soon quashed, because you're now talking with the season they've had. You're talking about direct
competition. Yeah, so the loan thing's strange, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, even now, Lingard's obviously not going to be able to play against Man United, but again, sort of semi-competition there between West Ham and Man United.
Well, there is now, yeah. But you would. I just think they thought Man United probably thought, he's now
28.
He probably has. He's come at the end of the road with them now. What he's done, he's shown he's quite capable of reigniting his career for another. What he don't want to do, I'd hate to see it, if the move was made permanent, he just goes like that. Yeah. Massive sigh of relief. I've got a new contract, 3-year contract, takes me at 31, nearly 32. I'm now in the comfort zone. I'm going to act the goat in London. I'd hate to see that, because he's got off to such a fantastic start. You know what I mean? He's been brilliant. And he's actually elevated them to dare I say it, the level they should have been at. Because he's sharing a load with Antonio, isn't he, a little bit?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
You know what I mean? So...
Yeah, it's just going on to general question. I'm not sure I've ever asked you this. I don't remember asking you these questions. I thought I might ask you now. Who's the best player you ever played with, and why? What was it that you saw in them that you just thought, Jesus, what a fucking player?
It's different people at different clubs, Joe. I wouldn't want to speak. I wouldn't want to talk someone up, meaning that I'm talking someone else down. I think
when you see, just to maybe explain that, I mean, it'd be good if you just identify a player that in training in a game, you see them do things and you think, God damn, that's like a different. He's playing a different game to me. You mentioned that Alan. I mean, I know Alan Hudson. He didn't play in the same team as him. I know he's a different era, but that sort of level of.
God, he was embarrassed. I think he was embarrassed, Alan, when I put him in midfield in my Chelsea's best ever 11. I think he was one of the greatest midfield players of his era, and maybe he done things to let himself down. Maybe not. There's no maybe about it. I know for sure he felt let down.
Yeah.
And then what happens as a consequence of being shit on? I think he went through a period of self-loathing, which we're very good at in this country. Yeah. But there's no doubt in my mind he was one of the greatest players of his of his generation and one of the best midfield players of his era. And he looked over and he weren't sure whether I was taking the piss or not. And I didn't set up like him because he said, well, we always used to set up 4-4-2. And then when we was attacking 4-2-4. So I said, well, I'm going with, and Don said, he picked my 11. Don said, he said, I've got the final thing and I'm going with him. He went with me. I went with 4 diamond 2 and I had Addy in the diamond. Yeah, because he had everything. But I'd say someone, I mean, like David A, who we got from Celtic. I mean, he looked a little bit. It was one of them. He looked. It could look awkward at times in terms of. He wasn't what you might call like smooth and silky, and you know what I mean. But he was a phenomenal athlete, carved out of granite, an absolute gentleman. He out-Braziled the Brazilians in the '74 World Cup when Brazil played Scotland. He came to Chelsea and they weren't a position he couldn't play in. So what do you do? And then if you say, well, you're looking for someone who just oozed class, every first touch was just like the golden touch.
Really?
Well, that was Ray Wilkins. He walked into the room. It was like Frank Sinatra had walked in. And he was class on the field. He was class off the field. Even when people deserved it, they were begging for a fucking clump. He wouldn't have a bad word to say about anybody. Even with the child sex abuse allegations, they asked him for his opinion. He said, well, I thought Eddie Heath was a good guy. Because he's only talking from his own perspective, you see. He's only and he wouldn't say anything disparaging about anyone, don't matter how much of a complete bastard the person was. You understand what I mean? He just oozed class, a complete gentleman. I actually, when he passed away, because it was his anniversary, I think recently, I put it out on Twitter, and Adrian Durham saw it because he follows me. He's a pal of mine at Talk Sport. And he said all the tributes are coming in, and so-and-so said this, so-and-so. What about this from fellow teammate back in the day at Chelsea Football Club, John Sitton, centre-back, says if I could have been anybody else, I would have chosen Ray Wilkins. You know what I mean? Because he's just everything. He could do everything.
Yeah.
He could do everything. And he was class. Then you look at things, you think, well, who could have got a living from then? There's not many. Well, not when you look at it now. David A would have been one. Ray would have been another one. Clive Walker probably, he would have been another one. Steve Finiston might. He said, and then Uddy takes the piss.
Yeah,
but he could score for fun. He's one of the greatest finishers you'd ever see. Then he went to Sheffield United, and his career died a death. You know what I mean? But after that, I'm struggling because I can list 5, 6, 7 criteria for every position, Joe. And when I look at the Chelsea then compared to the Chelsea now, from the goalkeeper all the way through to the outside left, everybody was lacking 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of the criteria out of 7 or 6 or 7. That included World Cup goalkeeper Peter Bonetti. You know what I mean? Too small, distribution piss poor, nervous wreck. You know what I mean? I could go right through the side. Right back, too light, not a good enough athlete, too light. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
I'm going to start getting personal with people. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of the best player, then you go to Millwall, and then I'm looking at Nicky Chatterton as a midfield player, right? And then I'm looking at a player I played with in the youth and the combination, Jimmy Clare. Right, Billy Gilmore's a carbon copy of Jimmy Clare. He even runs like him, right? Yeah. But Jimmy Clare never made it because all the honey monsters came in, and they were going like, "It's muddy, you're too light, you're too small, you can't run." Right? Well, it was no worse than Billy Gilmore. Right? And I think Bill can do everything. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's only going to get better. Then I go to Millwall and I've got Nicky Chatterton playing in front of me, and he was everything in midfield, apart from Ray Wilkins. He was everything in midfield I never had at Chelsea. Don't matter where he was on the football field, how tight the situation, how much trouble he was going to be in, he would demand the ball off you. I played with a player at Chelsea, had over 400 games for Chelsea. I played with him in the South East Counties Division 2, South East Counties Division 1, the football combination, and the first team, and he never demanded the ball off of me once.
Bloody hell.
Right? So people
amazing,
that might be able to work out. But Nicky Chat, right, he'd been at Palace, and it's just fate. He was a good athlete. He put his foot in. He was strong. He was wiry. Yeah,
must make it so much easier to play.
Yeah.
So easy.
And it goes, you could bounce it off him. You could bounce it off him, or he'd go, you just go punch it in and go, turn, turn Nick, you know what I mean? Turn
Yeah,
chaps,
yeah.
and it
Yeah.
go like, it could go short, it could go medium, it could go long. So he had all the game. But he's never going to get the recognition in the first division at the Den, right? And then I go to Gillingham. I played alongside Steve Bruce. He ends up a European a Premier League winning captain for Man United. Right? And then I go to Leyton Orient, and I played the one who I got really fond memories of. Right, the three people. The goalkeeper, Paul Hild, was the best goalkeeper, in my opinion, outside the top division. Right, so in what would now be the Championship, the division we were in, or the third division, the division we were in, and then the division we were promoted to. Then I got Keith Day, centre back partner, best centre back partner apart from Steve Bruce that I ever had in my career. Right, and we're playing in the third division at Leyton Orient. Then I got alongside me the other side, the best left back I ever played with, right, apart from Mickey Adams at Gillingham, that I ever played with in my career. Better than anything at Chelsea. Yeah. He's in the third division at Leyton Orient. That was Kevin Dickinson. So it's all relative, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, who was the best player you played against?
Well, it depends.
Can I try and pin you down to one?
No, please? You can't. No, you can't, because I might like Kenny Dalglish, but you like Mike. You might like Frank Worthington, or I might like Frank Worthington, and you might like Frank Stapleton.
But it's your opinion.
I might like Frank Stapleton, you might like Glenn Hoddle. You understand?
Yeah, but it's your like, if you not got it in your head, like, do you not think he's the best? You know, a lot of players sort of. I played in
the third division against Steve Ball. Marked him out the game. A couple of months later, he's in Italy. He's in the England's World Cup squad.
World Cup night, yeah.
Fucking madness. No, you know what I mean? I thought, how's he going to get on the plane if he's still in my pocket? Oh, Steve Ball, Frank Clark, right? So Steve Ball. Oh, I wish see Steve Ball. Never won a fucking header. I sent one crashing against the crossbar from a corner because he didn't know how to mark, which goes back to my coaching thing again. And then you want to run in the channels, son? I run in the channels all day long with you. Right, and then when it come to getting within blocking distance, because he loved the shot, it weren't happening. So he's just got to lay the ball off. So he's no longer a threat. Yeah. Next thing you know, 2 months later, I'm going up to Lilleshall to take my full badge, and he's flying off to Italy in the World Cup. But if I'm looking at, like, maybe it's because I was a kid, I don't know.
So was there not one player that you thought, fuck, you know, Geezer's amazing?
No, you can't think like that. No, you can't think like that. No, you respect him, Kenny Dalglish, obviously.
But did you respect him as the man and what he's achieved in football? Did you respect his ability?
Well, I'm playing against him. It's his ability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were like league winners, reigning European champions, FA Cup winners, League Cup winners. What the fuck, you know what I mean? I put in my book, if they'd have entered the Derby, Wimbledon and the Grand Prix, they'd have won that as well. But then you go and play Arsenal at Highbury, and you've got like a right slippery, like right double agent. Like 1 minute he's so strong, Frank Stapleton, they're pinging the ball into him. Brady's pinging the ball into him. He's killing it stone dead. You've got no chance of getting round him, right? He's killing the ball stone dead. Immaculate control, immaculate setting off. Or it'd come into him and he'd just set it off one touch. So again, you can't get round him. You can't. And then if you did make an attempt to try and get round him, he'd do the Fosbury flop, go face down like someone's hitting from the back with a pickaxe handle. Do you know what I mean? So cute up here, winning free kicks in good areas. So now you're playing a different game of chess now. You understand?
Yeah.
You just got to go. You got to go back to what you was taught as a kid in the grids. You know what I mean? There's certain areas where you just got to go. You know what? I'll let him have it. But as long as I can keep him and the ball in front of me and make him set it back or sideways, I've done a good job for the side. Except for Chelsea, that weren't the case. Because you could have drove a fucking Sherman tank up between me and Mickey Droy.
When in that situation, because things were different then, I guess, in terms of tackling from behind. Could you
Worthington? Sorry to interrupt you. I'll come and Worthington. Right, it ties in what you're going to say. Right, got called Elvis. He thought he was Elvis. So he was like, he used to receive the ball like this. No one can come within 3 square yards of me because I want the ground, the ability. I want the ground, the grass, to show my ability. But I'll tell you something. I had a little nibble at him from behind, and he turned around like that with a surly look on his face, and he went, "You fucking dirty little bastard." He said, "You've been in the game 10 minutes and you fucking kicked me." So me being like me, I was like 18, 12 stone 2, dripping wet. I went, "Yeah, go on, fuck off, you northern mug." Next thing you know, so he's like 26, 27, he's in his prime. Do you know what I mean? He's had people like me for 11s already. So the ball gets hung up at the far post. Chelsea goalkeepers were fucking useless right through every age group. In actual fact, the best one, they thought he was a lunatic, right? That was Derek Richardson. He would dribble out before Dave Besant started to dribble it out. He would pass to the back four with his feet long before the Manchester City goalkeeper did it, and everyone thought he was a lunatic, right? So you can draw your own conclusions. But the common denominator among Chelsea goalkeepers, Benetti, Phillips, Barota, they were all very small. So I thought, well, he ain't going to come and catch it. So I'm backpedaling. I'm thinking to myself, I'm really deep here. I'm just on the corner of my own 6-yard box, right, on the right-hand side. If I head it that way, right, so height, preferably width and distance. If not, height and distance, right? But if I head it that way, someone could walk onto it and volley it in the top corner. So I elected just to keep backpedaling and deflect it for a corner. And as I did, he come in Worthington, 13.5 stone through his elbow, right on my temple, knocked me spark out. Luckily, I'd been knocked out before on the judo mat, on the jiu-jitsu mat, with like chokeholds and all that. Because I said, well, I want to know if it works. They said, do you want to know if it works, son? So I said, yeah. I said, all right. So start counting. So they put me in a hold, and I didn't even make 20 seconds. I blacked out. Right?
Yeah.
So Norman runs on and puts a cold sponge on my face. So message received loud and clear. What he's saying to me, Worthington, if you can do me from behind, right? But know this, I can do you from behind.
Yeah.
When you're not looking.
Now that just don't exist in the game. You can't tackle from behind, and you can't elbow people in the temple. Is that a good thing?
So of course it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Of course it's a good thing. Yeah. Of course it's a good thing. Everything's then got to be done appropriate and correctly. What it is, it's like anything. He's really quite good, outspoken, very eloquent, I think, on TalkSport for many years now. Jason Cundy, who came through the ranks a few years after me. He just said, look, make no mistake about it, make no bones about it. He said there's no codes, no morals, no etiquette in football. There's definitely no morals. And if someone, whether it's on the field or off the field, if they can get an advantage, sneak an advantage, they'll try and do it.
Well, it's a game, isn't it? You've got to win.
Yeah, but that's what you used to try and do to get an advantage years ago. You know what I mean? You try and handicap someone.
So diving then it's not the player's fault. It's just it's the rules. And the refs not knowing what fouls are anymore. But anyway, maybe we'll keep that. We'll leave that one to next week.
What, the diving and screaming? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear a few. Yeah. A few more screams before we bring it up again.
All right, cool. All right, well, I think we've been talking for long enough there, hour and a half. That's probably quite a long one. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a bit long. Well, maybe not quite that long. Yeah, it probably is that long.
Any questions we never covered that you'd written down? Because I know you sent me a few, and I had a quick through, but it sounds to me like you might have left one or two out.
I don't, unless you know of any, but that's Rob was the one that reached out, but but
we answered his one. He's a good follower of ours, Rob. He's like Johnny last week, very like interactive and
it's great.
Offers up their opinions. That's what we want.
It's good to hear that people are enjoying it, and hopefully they enjoy this one. But yeah, as always, retweet, comment, ask, DM me if I've missed any. That's the best thing. I won't miss them. Or DM you, John. You
I don't mind.
DMs, don't you? People can slide into your DMs, can't they?
Well, they do, Joe. Yeah. What it is, I endeavour, because I like to think that I'm as polite as I should be. When people follow me, I endeavour to follow them back. So as a consequence, they can DM me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The last couple I received, what I've done is I've just said, look, save it. That's good. I said, blind him. Just save it as a question for the podcast. by all means. And then what we do,
Yeah.
it give us a nice talking point.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should have passed it on to me then, John.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll tell you who we skipped over, who I think was the Palace one, right? I've got to believe it or not, because of what I said in my book with Big Mal and all that, Venners, and that unbelievable squad they put together, like my age group, Vinny Hilaire, Peter Nicholas, Kenny, Kenny Sansom, and Jerry Murphy, you had Ian Evans up front. Oh, there's so many of them. Just it was a fantastic. Terry Fennick, same age group, different gear. These guys, different level, unbelievable competitors, warriors. Terry Boyle. So I always had that thing, you know, with regards to interaction with Palace fans as a consequence.
Alan Pardew, did he play that there?
Nah, he's a long way after us. He's a long way after us. I've got this theory on Palace where they're at. I just think there's what it is. You got Ray Lou and you got Roy Hodgson. I think they've performed nothing short of minor miracles with a minimum amount of investment. And they first of all, I said ages ago, they can't keep being asked to pull rabbits out of hats, which I think what Roy and Ray Lou have done. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I said there's been this to-ing and fro-ing about whether they're going to get their contracts renewed, right? So I said if they don't get their contracts renewed, it's going to be very, very interesting now, because I'm marking them up now, along with Leeds, if they don't remedy their playing style, right? I'm going to mark them up now as possible relegation candidates next year. Right, they'll be all right this year, obviously, but they've got so many players coming towards the end of their contract, so they haven't renegotiated new contracts for the management and quite a few of the playing staff. Right, so what's going to happen?
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking.
House of cards, yeah.
Yeah, because like all of a sudden the owners are going to have to look to do something, or be incredibly lucky, right? Which they've never done before, which is like heavily invest in the playing staff and pluck a manager out of nowhere who's going to be as well organised and as competent as Roy Hodgson and Ray Lewington in terms of setting them up being hard to beat.
Tough, isn't it?
Yeah,
make many of them around.
That's right. So it's going to be really, and they're probably the last of what you would call the old school. But they've showed that there's no school like the old school, because they can adapt to the new school. Do you know what I mean? Because look at the thing. I was one of the first to question it. What is he, 73? I'm thinking, how's he going to build up a rapport? It's like middle class 73-year-old. How's he going to build up a rapport with a predominantly black team of 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds? You know what I mean? And get the message across. What it's shown he can build relationships with players, and it showed that the players, I think, have
buy into it.
Well, they've bought into it, but they've showed their own football IQ and intelligence more often than not. They've had a few blips. They've had a few Lionels where they've took a good hiding, and an unacceptable good hiding a couple of weeks ago. But no, I just think it remains to be seen what's going to happen to them. I think I'm not a gambling man, but you know, something's got to give there. What you said, the old domino effect, where they all him and a load of players.
Jenga. Jenga.
What's that?
You know, when you put the blocks, it's a game, isn't it? You put the blocks of wood, and then you keep to take them out, and then it falls down.
All I got in my Christmas stocking when I was a kid was an apple orange and a lump of coal. So I don't know all these fancy games.
It was tough in the East End, wasn't it?
Yeah, and a few coppers.
Oh, right, John, we've got to finish this podcast.
All right,
everyone,
let's say goodnight.
Let's say goodnight. Everyone retweet, message. I hope you enjoy it, and it's a good night for me. It's
good night, all.
Good night.
Cheers. Just what we wanted to do is like view, like, share, subscribe.
Please,
yeah?
Yes.
In
Well done,
that order, because we want to get some more subscribers on the firm. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Nice one.